Unsolved Mysteries Rewind is a commercial-free podcast that focuses on cases featured on the television show Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. Each episode features a single case and, if possible, updates and an expansion on the original story. Listener discretion is advised for listeners who are sensitive to true crime details.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries Rewind, two friends get together to discuss episodes of their favorite television show, Unsolved Mysteries. Will they find answers? Will anyone care? You may be able to solve a mystery.
Hello, this is Mark, and you're listening to Unsolved Mysteries Rewind. Today I have returning to the show, Lindsay. How are you doing, Lindsay?
I'm good, thank you, Mark.
And we're jumping right into this one because we've already run into technical difficulties, but that's okay. That's what this is all about, I think. Do you want to talk about the episode we'll be reviewing today?
The episode aired November 10th, 1993. It's season 6, episode 8, and it's got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about kidnapped executive, twin murders in a trailer park. It was weird. I guess they lived in a trailer that was a lot smaller than this huge warehouse that they owned.
Just live in the warehouse, right? I mean, just put some carpeting down, or I don't know, like
and a NATO soldier feel bad story.
Nah,
just
I don't know. But,
yeah,
okay.
we'll glare over it. It's there's not much there.
It's just a philanderer, or that's not the right word, but let's pretend it is.
I don't know. He's got I said before, the guy has quite a head of hair. That's all.
He does, and I think he's also got kids all around the world. So
yeah, I would say so. Let's jump into the kidnapped executive. This brings us back to November 19th, 1990 in Minneapolis. And we're talking about John F. Grundhofer.
Wait, you left out my favorite part.
Jack
Grundhofer. And this confused me for a while because I've never understood why John and Jack are the same. Like, they're sort of synonymous.
Like Richard and Dick.
But yes, exactly. Or Samuel and Sammy. But John and Jack don't match. But it's because he was such a cutthroat executive. He was known as Jack, as in the Ripper. I was very happy to have an answer to my question. It doesn't explain the rest of the world that uses John and Jack, but
the reenactor had a certain the movie Wall Street appeal to him, I thought that he really brought that sleaziness to the table.
He totally did, but I do not think John Grundhofer. Oof, it's going to be a mouthful.
Grundhofer.
Yes, let's say it like that. How about every time I say John and then you say the last name? But I don't think he was sleazy. I think he was a good guy.
I would like to actually call him, if we can go back to that for a minute, JFG.
Do it, JFG. Sold.
JFG, maybe even Junior. JFG Junior.
That sounds way too much.
Well, he did seem like a halfway decent guy. He's one of these guys who was hired to cut the fat in a job.
Oh, president of the first bank system.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is. I was looking around. I don't know if this was a real thing.
It's a real thing. He's a real guy.
Yeah, no, I know he's a real guy. But he was the chairman and president of First Bank System. And his main focus was really to trim the fat. And he cut one of his first major things, maybe why he got called Jack the Ripper, was because he eliminated more than 2,000 jobs. This is a great way to make enemies.
If you need a way to make enemies.
We're also here in Unsolved Mysteries that Grundhofer was a man who is very used to being scrutinized. He's probably used to people taking a swing at him, maybe.
I guess. Okay, fine. We'll go on, and then I'll wait to say that I think Unsolved Mysteries missed a huge part about him, but yes.
I couldn't agree more. You dug up something really incredible, and it's very eye-opening, and I can't...
Amazing. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to... John is in his parking garage pulling into his spot. It's about 8:10 in the morning. Somebody comes and approaches him, and he refers to himself as Carl.
Why would you introduce yourself as a kidnapper? I mean, it's very lovely, but there's no need to.
I could picture it being like, who are you? I'm Carl.
You know who Carl actually looks like is Kevin from The Office.
Yeah, I was thinking that or John Candy.
Real name Brian Baumgartner, but John Candy too. I think a mixture of both. The awkwardness reminded me of Kevin, but yeah.
Well, one thing we do get to hear a lot about is his awkwardness. And we hear about how he's out of shape, a bumbling fool, and all of this stuff, which is a little strange.
He has a cheat sheet.
A witness, Jeff, saw this. He saw like something going on. So somebody saw them fighting. His name ends up being Jeff Rasmussen. Maybe there should be an umlaut over that.
I have such the hots for Jeff, I have to tell you.
He's kind of a chicken. No, he's not a chicken. He had a gun pointing.
He's a good-looking guy, and he heard something, thought it was a mugging, and ran over to help.
I loved his line where he's like, "Is somebody sick?"
Okay, I didn't say he was smart. I said he was hot.
Well, Jeff sees that they're in a kind of a skerfuffle. They just fighting, and John is trying to fight back, but he's overpowered by Carl.
Ridiculous, but yeah.
It is kind of ridiculous, but I'm surprised they didn't say, Carl sat on him or something like that.
They are really mean to Carl in this, but,
Yeah, kind of. So he forces him into the car. Things like this, I immediately think, what am I going to do? I'm in a situation, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to do. You're in the driver's seat.
Why? Why am I in the driver's seat?
Well, if the other guy is driving, you can grab the wheel, you can jump out. Or I guess you can do that while driving, too, really.
But he has wrist ties with him, and then he hooks up dynamite to his arm.
It was the most ridiculous thing. I don't see why there would be dynamite in place of anyone. I mean, it's such an unstable thing.
Well, also, I only know about this from Looney Tunes, but you have to light dynamite for it to poof.
You just need a spark. And so if there's a detonator, he even said all I have to do is push this button and boom.
I'm sure that was a garage door opener. I bet you $1 million.
I have a feeling this guy went to like a Halloween outlet on November 1st and bought this thing at 80% off. There's no way this was real. And, here's another thing. If you had an explosive in the car, there would be some residue probably of it even existing. So they never talk about any of that type of stuff.
I don't feel like they were really... it was such a weird-ass thing, and there were so many other things going on. But I also feel a little bit concerned that, JFG in the reenactment puts his hand with the dynamite in his lap. I'm like, that's the last place.
Yeah, I would want to, can I hang it out the door?
Yeah. Anywhere away from my penis. That would be the first thought, I think. But fine, whatever.
At least it wasn't a stick shift, so you'd be, swinging around and stuff like that. But, so at 8:13, the kidnapper orders John to drive to Wisconsin with the dynamite taped to his arm. They head east. So, yeah, when I saw him attaching the handcuffs with the dynamite, I just thought this is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
They claim at virtually the same moment a passerby in the garage found what the FBI believes to be a cheat sheet for the kidnapper.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the FBI states that he's not a professional, but
the
FBI can't seem to find him. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you're so stupid, but it's like, well, you can't figure it out either. And the guy got away with it. So I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about them making so much fun of him because they can't figure out where the guy is or what he did and all of this stuff.
Right,
but he almost got away with it. No spoiler, I guess, a little bit, but
we still can't figure out who the Zodiac killer is. So
didn't they? Well, they encrypted something.
I'm pretty big into my true crime, and last I heard, no.
Well, at 8:45, Grundhofer and the gunmen were crossing the state line to Wisconsin, and they were 35 miles from Minneapolis, and they had this little bit of an exchange of conversation, asking who's going to take place when you're not around. And he brings up a character named Scott Taylor, and he's like, Scott? And he's like, never mind. So this is clearly somebody who worked there and got cut.
Yeah. Agreed.
I
and I want to know what's do we look into Scott Taylor? Why does that name not come up,
Right. Is Scott Taylor like a handsome man of the office and this guy's has a man crush? Or is he one of these guys who is his superior?
I was going with, did Scott Taylor order this guy to do this? But yours is more intriguing.
Sure. It's all about Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
By 8:57, John is ordered into a secluded area, and Carl demands $3 million in ransom. And he has John call his secretary. And this is so strange. He demands $3 million in 100s, in 500s, and $1,000 bills. I've heard of $500 bills. I've heard of rumors of $1,000 bills, but I don't think they're not something that's just kind of sitting at Chase Bank. I don't think you could just kind of get them. And Unsolved Mysteries does point out a very interesting point, and that's you don't really walk into you don't go anywhere and try to break $1,000 bill.
Right.
Or a $500 bill.
No, and I had another thought because, whenever I have to take money when I used to leave my house and take money out of a bank, and they're like, how do you want that? That is like the point where I just freeze and I'm like, I don't know.
Singles.
I'm like, I've got the 20 down pat, like 10, 5, 5 ones, but anything greater than that. And I just kind of freeze and go, give me stuff. And this guy who had lost his cheat sheet somehow knows all of this. Not only does he know how he wants this very random assortment of money, but JFG remembers this later.
Is it possible? No, I didn't think about this until just now. Is it possible this guy actually worked with currency and he knows that they have a large amount of thousands and $500 bills?
I don't know. I just keep thinking of, Kevin from The Office, and I wouldn't give him money, but maybe.
Dropping the chili and stuff.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the officials at First Bank System thought we better start preparing the $3 million ransom. He realizes, it's kind of crazy, right? Carl realizes that he lost his cheat sheet and he starts saying, have you got the note? And Grundhofer is saying, what note? And it's becoming kind of a comedic thing. And it really does turn into Kevin from The Office at this. So they force Grundhofer to hike down a steep slope in a remote wooded area. We get the wonderful comment. The kidnapper was apparently so out of shape that he struggled to make the descent. It's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah, we get it. You're fat shaming him. He's out of shape, whatever. But I will also say what just occurred to me is like JFG is a man of money. I imagine this guy has, I'm trying to think what exercise equipment was popular.
Oh, like a Peloton?
The equivalent of,
the Nordic track or something.
Yeah, a Nordic track, thank you. And a Bowflex in his house.
The Bowflex. I remember those commercials.
That man works out. So I don't know if it's that bumbling Carl, who also told him his name, whatever, was so out of shape, or if it's just that the comparison of the two men.
Well, because of your detailed research, you uncovered something very interesting that we will get to in a few moments. Is it possible he was also the target for this type of attack because his guard was down?
I would think the opposite. Let's wait on that.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange thing that you uncovered because it's just like, why wouldn't they include that? The gunman brings him to a plastic bag. And this is kind of where I would start freaking out because that never ends right.
Bag going, right.
This is planned. This is a little bit strange. So he makes him get into a sleeping bag, tapes his mouth shut, and ties him up so well that it only takes him 20 minutes to escape.
Poor guy. I feel bad for him.
Me too. I mean,
we need more crappy kidnappers,
Yeah, this guy is real bumbling. So he basically does that and he leaves. Grundhofer escapes, and by 10:25, this is so funny. Well, not funny. It's one of these things that probably most people overlook. He didn't call the police. He called his job. He goes to a nearby farmhouse, and first thing he does is, don't pay that $3 million.
This was his one job, was to trim the fat. Can you imagine if he laid off, X amount of people and then loses $3 million in a bumbled kidnapping?
Yeah, it seems strange. You pointed out, very interesting, that this entire kidnapping was from beginning to end 2 hours. Pretty traumatizing, though.
It felt longer, but I don't even know if it felt longer. I kind of believe JFG was like, this is absurd. Also, we'll get to that.
Now, I'm just going to glare over this just because it really fills up too much time. But they found a man, according to what they say, a striking resemblance to a drawing John Henderson seems like just a nice guy, personally. The FBI really just grilled him. They tried to nail him, and even Grundhofer is like standing there like, that's him. But John Henderson was let go. The FBI didn't have anything stick. He's even Unsolved Mysteries, and he's like, they can do whatever they want because they're not going to find anything. And that's the right thing to say, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Now can I do it?
Now, there's amazing research that I uncovered, that Lindsay uncovered, that is a whole rabbit hole. I think this is an incredible story all on its own, but yeah, please go on.
2 months earlier, John has a daughter, Karen, and she was a junior at the University of California at Berkeley. She was held hostage and shot 7 times when a gunman fired into a crowded bar near campus. So I looked into this, and it is an amazing, ridiculous, awful story where it's a man who was a student. His last name was Dashty. I almost didn't even want to give this attention, but just his name. But he proceeds to hold a whole crew of people hostage for hours and hours. I'm blanking on how long it was, but regardless, he walks into this crowded bar and he demands trillions of dollars from the federal government in exchange for telepathy services he said he had provided. Maybe he did. He told them he would also accept, 3 U.S. states in lieu of the cash. He demands that the San Francisco police chief appear on television and drop his pants. He was
LARPing. I mean, it's crazy what this guy was doing.
Yeah, he's heavily armed. He kills 1 student and held a lot of others hostage for 7 hours of terror and sexual perversion. He made female hostages drop their pants, and as far as the male hostages, he brought carrots with him. We'll just leave it at that. And so Karen is shot 7 times, but it's no damage to the internal organs. And
you're shot once.
I mean, this guy was an awful shot, thank God, but it's horrible. It's really a dreadful news story that I had never heard of, and only because I like going down rabbit holes.
Grundhofers don't go down so easily.
No, they do not. Like, Karen's fine. Karen has a family. Karen is beautiful. She's happy. And John Grundhofer lived a nice, long, healthy life. He, sadly, he died in January at the age of 82. But
4 months ago.
I know. What you and I spoke about was the possibility that because, no doubt, he had been traumatized by his daughter having gone through this, perhaps he was better equipped than the average person to stay calm, Like, everyone thinks this could never happen to me. Well, this just happened to his daughter.
Yeah, and the guy's loaded. I mean, we don't know exactly, but I'm going to guess this guy was living a pretty wealthy life.
It's clear that he's wealthy, he comes from money, and he's,
If you could mention, though, I know we mentioned 2 months earlier, but it's actually even less than that. It happened on September 28th of 1990, and then this kidnapping, November 10th. I mean, we're talking literally 6 weeks later.
Right. And, I don't
She was probably in the hospital. I would imagine that his daughter was in the ICU. 7 shots. I'm going to guess you might be still in the ICU.
I don't think she was in the ICU, but she
was
definitely in the... 1 through her right hip, 3 through the right side of her chest, possibly. But she's definitely still in the hospital. This is definitely still traumatic. And I do think that maybe, there is something to be said about keeping a level mind and being prepared for it, because trauma, like, he experienced this. I'm going to speak as a shrink now. John experienced his daughter's trauma vicariously.
You speak as though you know what you're saying.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's like that doctorate degree or something.
Yeah,
John experienced vicarious trauma from what his daughter went through. And I'm sure, like many of us, when something tragic or traumatic happens, we put ourselves in that situation in order to think what we would have done differently. And it's definitely like related to our brain and fight or flight and executive functioning and planning and all sorts of things that probably don't interest most people, but I'm a dork. And so I do think that part of his calm, level head, besides bumbling Kevin had him, was because perhaps a part of him had played out scenario in his brain as a sense of, as a protective issue, not knowing that he would actually need this. So, he lived long, and I don't know, very happy for him and them and the family that all things told, both John and Karen did well, lived long.
I mean, you have a photo of him drinking in one of those kind of like huge martini glass cocktails. And the guy does not look stressed out to me. He looks as though that, although this is a terrible thing to have happened, he got over it.
Martini so badly, so yeah.
I love those things. Those are just fun. It's just clear that the guy failed on so many different levels. That it didn't stick. This guy moved on with his life, although it might have been pretty tough. He lived a pretty good life. I think 82 is a good age, personally.
Yeah, I do too.
Before things start going really bad.
I agree. I definitely agree. And the family looks, happy. And so obviously, they say lightning couldn't strike twice. It did. I hope they all got therapy. And then we're like, forget it. Lightning struck twice, and now we're clear. So
let's go on a cruise. That's what he looks like. He looks like he's on a cruise in that photo.
I think it's like a Mexican restaurant. But
maybe.
Fine.
All right.
Whatever.
Let's get out of that state and we'll go over to California, in Willow Creek, California, and we'll go back in time a little bit, November 14th, 1986. Oddly enough, almost the same exact time of the year.
Yeah. It's a bad time. So
yeah, maybe it is. People always talk about that. It's the beginning of the holiday, right before the holidays. Maybe it is a tough time for a lot of different people in areas. I don't really know why. I don't know if that really applies to this case.
To avoid buying presents, that is stressful for me.
I think people who don't have relationships or they've failed relationships, I think those times are really tough for them.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. But as somebody who's an expert at everything, I wouldn't dare have any level of a problem. Hans and Betty Hansen, who are just adorable people.
Oh, Betty is gorgeous, by the way.
The whole family has really good looks. Like, they definitely are very photogenic. They're all very put together well, and it's all kind of natural. Hans and Betty Hansen moved to this quiet community in 1971, 3 years after they married. Hans operated a logging supply business in the town, and the Hansen family grew to include 4 children, which ended up being Donnie and Becky, who were from Betty's prior marriage, and twin girls, Jill and Julie. Just couldn't be cuter, although that one photo of them when they're very young, one of them looks really mad.
Yeah, I don't think they were as photogenic as the rest of the family. I also don't know if Betty was actually married prior or if this was just, they're married in 1968. I don't know I'm not judging. I'm just saying I could not find, the fact that both children took Hans's last name,
mm-hmm.
and I couldn't find any evidence of a prior marriage made me wonder. Regardless, don't care. But
now, Jill and Julie, if you look closer at that video of them at the very end of the segment, if you can ignore the really bad haircuts, they look exactly like the mom in that photo that you dug up of Betty when she was younger. You have to look really close and say, like,
yeah, they do. No, you're right. They do.
They definitely had the same kind of look, but those haircuts, wow. The 80s was a very tough time.
It was very tough.
On November 14th at about 11 p.m., the twins go to bed. They live in a small trailer, but, it's probably maybe 2 bedrooms because Donnie is going to be sleeping on the couch. Donnie's 21 at the time. Oh, you know what? I'm leaving out Becky, but Becky wasn't there, was she?
I know, but I want to know where Becky was. I even tried to use Reddit to find out where Becky was, but I can't use Reddit, okay? I'm not smart enough for it.
Reddit's,
I know, but I am curious where Becky was. But so Becky is the oldest. She's 24. This is Becky from the first marriage. And then Donnie's 21. And so I either made this up or I just intuitively feel like he was at college and came back, but maybe he wasn't. And then the twins were 16.
It's definitely possible. I mean, school could have let out for the holidays even at this point. I mean, it's kind of early, but it's not totally unheard of.
I also don't know if Donnie went to college. That was just my my feeling. For some reason, Donnie was living in Fortuna. I keep saying Ventura.
Yeah, I think
Fortuna, which was 70 miles away. But you're right. I am curious. Maybe this was a 2-bedroom trailer. I don't know a lot about trailers. I don't. Hunter gets motion sick. Oops. My son gets motion sickness, so trailers are not something my family is looking into anytime soon.
So they're all in bed. About 3 a.m., Betty wakes up and she's like, something smells smoky. And it's like, are you making your jerky again? That's another office joke. Betty Hansen wakes up and she's like, wake up, wake up. Hans grabs a fire extinguisher and he goes to spray it. He notices that when he extinguishes some of the fire comes back, kind of like a trick candle.
Which means, yeah, I know. I watch Backdraft enough to know what the
Yeah.
Yep.
Dad trips over an empty gas can as he's running out. I mean, what bumbling idiot not only leaves the can, I guess it doesn't matter if they're putting it in a place where somebody's going to trip over it, but
yeah, the idea is everyone's gonna burn. But by the way, so Jill and Julie were sleeping in one bed, and then Hans and Betty in the other, and then Donnie on the couch, which I imagine to be in the middle.
Yeah, I kind of picture if we can think of a small 2-bedroom apartment, maybe.
Okay, except that would not be in a straight line, but fine.
It's true.
Yeah.
So Dad's running out. He's going to get fire extinguishers. In the warehouse, he has several of them. Dad is just basically yelling for everyone to get out of the house. Mom sees Donnie yelling at, she refers to as someone, to get out.
I'm a little as it's portrayed, on Unsolved Mysteries, Donnie's yelling to the outside, but I also think he could have just opened the door and been yelling for people on the inside to get outside. I'm not saying he's innocent or guilty, but I just was a little unclear on that.
Right. I mean, we have a few theories about who this someone could have been, but Betty runs to the shop to get another fire extinguisher. I mean, they're all obviously trying to get this. I'm going to guess, I don't know this for a fact, I'm going to guess the construction of a trailer isn't built to withstand very much fire. So they really have to kind of put this thing out before the entire thing is up in a 100% blaze.
But isn't that all the more reason to put more than one fire extinguisher in your trailer? You know how many I have in my house? Like 4.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a couple fire extinguishers here and there. God forbid you ever have a fire or something like that. I never think that a fire extinguisher is going to do much to a real fire. But Dad grabs a ladder and he breaks the window on the outside, which is to the twins' bedroom. There's no response from the twins. They're like, get out, there's fire, and it's a very dramatic Unsolved Mysteries reenactment. We get a lot of back and forth with Hans and Betty. Yeah. I really do like them. There's something really sweet about them, and I believe every word that they're saying.
I believe every word that they're
Like, I don't think that they had anything to do with this.
No, I don't either. I don't either. I don't know. I like Betty a little more than Hans, so.
It took 15 minutes for the fire trucks to arrive, and people like you and me are actually very fortunate to have, like, a fire department pretty much on every block around here.
Yeah.
It's just 15 minutes is a long time, and that was kind of crazy. I couldn't find the closest fire department. It's very strange. I don't know how it works there. I don't know if it's private.
This also was not a good neighborhood. Remember?
No, this is a pretty industrial area, I would say.
Well, I also found a note somewhere that it was this was like a drug. I'm not saying this about Betty and Hans, but like not so far was like you don't go there unless you want to buy something illegal portion of the neighborhood, and there were a lot of bars and drug issues and all those other things. So I don't know if the fire trucks taking so long to respond had something to do with that.
Well, it's a logging community, really. I mean, it's a logging community. There's trailer parks. There's a mobile home community. This might kind of open itself up. And I'm not judging anybody, but I'm just simply saying that this might really open the door. Maybe some people who might want to get off the reservation, so to speak. Do things that are maybe a little bit more nefarious.
For money, right?
For money, like sell drugs or do drugs or commit crimes.
So you don't have a lot of experience with drugs, I'm guessing, but doing drugs doesn't get you money. Unfortunately, it does not work that way.
No?
But
right.
Yeah. But that's my other thing. So this is a trailer park or a mobile home community or whatever we're calling it. I understand how one call to the fire department might go unprioritized, but I feel like maybe some other people should have called.
Yeah, maybe we could have had a well, it is 3 a.m., right? Fire is silent.
There's a huge-ass fire, Mark. I don't care what time
it is. But, I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to guess, and I don't know this at all, because I went on Google Maps, I'm looking at the area. Is it possible? Because he owned the warehouse. Is it possible there were no neighbors?
No, because a neighbor notices.
Well, a neighbor, but I mean, maybe a further neighbor than... I don't think there are next-door neighbors.
No, because, okay, so minutes later, the Hansens were both shocked and relieved when a neighbor noticed a crumbled figure in a vacant lot across the road, and it was Julie. So my point is, so the story is that Donnie took Julie out and ran her to safety, but, like, how far did Donnie run? You know, like, I don't know. I don't like your theory.
I think, all right, but... Is it also possible Donnie was high, you know, because Donnie claims to, you know, they say, have you seen anybody, blah, blah, blah. And Donnie's like, no. But then Donnie claims to have brought her out.
Right. I mean, it is possible Donnie was high. It's also possible Donnie was high and needed to light a blunt with a gas can. It didn't occur to me before. But
the reenactment's actually kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. Well, later on, we'll talk about the reenactment that they came up with, the scenario.
Right. But I don't I agree. Like, the first thing that you want to do in an emergency situation is give information. And, like, I understand he's the brother, not a parent, but, like, you and your wife or me and my husband, like, if one of us took another child out of the house or even a cat, we would be like, I've got this person and this animal out of the house so that you're not looking, you know, endangering yourself to look for another. Right. Or cat, and Donnie said nothing about this. And even if you're high, like, I feel like this massive fire should sober you up.
We just don't know. He definitely comes off as such a shady character, especially when we get to more and more of this. The fire department comes, puts out the fire. The next day they discover, you know, although Julie has survived, Jill perished in the fire.
Right.
Closer examination shows that she was shot. Also, the thing is that when Julie went to the hospital, they discovered that she was not hurt from the fire. She was actually shot.
Which is weird. Like, I guess they thought there was some fire projectile.
Basically, so we're turning this into an arson situation because they find the gas can, of course. Donnie is just Mr. Confused. He's not helpful at all. His story is changing over and over again. As soon as they found Julie's body, he's yelling that she's over here, she's over here. The whole thing is just extremely strange.
So the next day, Johnny goes to the warehouse, which is cordoned off, to check on the family dog, where apparently the family dog was staying with a neighbor, and Johnny really should have, could have, or did know that. But I think this was the first time. Probably not the first time, but an eyebrow was raised. And then it turns out that Donnie had borrowed the shotgun. Well, first of all, it turns out he went there not to feed the dog, shocker, but to get and move the shotgun. Mm-hmm. Donnie had borrowed the shotgun from a friend 2 days before. And then right before the fire, he bought 5 gallons of gasoline.
As well as buying ammo.
Right. The night of the fire, he bought the ammo. So it seems pretty...
And he even kept the receipt.
That's not smart, Donnie. Come on.
So...
Also, you're not going to return it. Why do you... I don't even keep receipts, so... whatever.
While they were doing the search, you know, the police were doing their investigation, they did find this 12-gauge shotgun in the warehouse. And then it was, I believe, the next day is when the police catch Donnie trying to sneak into the warehouse.
Right.
He doesn't know that they found the shotgun. We have Chief Investigator George Gatto, and he says he knew the dog had been taken to the neighbors. He knew the dog was not there. That when he figured that the reason he was there to get the shotgun because he didn't know we had found it yet. And he became the prime suspect in the murder of his own sister. He just really put all of the spotlight on himself.
Right. And I don't think it wasn't even Donnie's dog. I don't really think he thought to come see the dog.
I think the dog was just an excuse because he was trying to break in there. 3 days before the fire, like you said, all of this stuff is like kind of building up to a lot of evidence against Donnie. 3 days before the fire, like you said, he borrowed the shotgun, he had gotten the gasoline, he bought the shells. The ammunition. 2 weeks after the fire, Julie's recovered enough and she starts talking.
She knows nothing at first.
Yeah, and I'm kind of... How do you feel about this? I mean,
nope.
Memories can be planted pretty easily.
There is something called confabulation, where you'll find it a lot in people with extensive histories of alcoholism or trauma. People have gone through a trauma. And what a confabulation is, in short, is a lie that you don't know it's a lie. It's when there's a gap in your memory and you fill it in with something that makes sense to you in some way.
It's some type of like data correction for your mind.
Exactly. That's a great way to explain it. It's a data correction. And so I think probably subconsciously anyone who spoke to her was sort of planting the seed for it being Donnie. And also, so she's going to be in and out of consciousness. Donnie is bringing her across the field, perhaps. I think those were, what did we call them in the 80s? Like coerced memories or like false.
It's like I guess planted, but I know you're looking for something a little bit more
I am, but
clinical.
I'm going to go with confabulations because it works. And it's something where the person, honestly, they don't know that they're lying. Their subconscious is filling in the blanks like.
I love that term. Confabulations. I thought it was a word you made up, to be honest with you. I had no idea.
Not. It's a really it's like cheap duct tape, basically.
It's confabulous.
And then you remember it, and then the more memory, the more you remember it, the more real it becomes. So
by December 2nd, well, I just do want to say though, is it possible they were just kind of saying, well, when this was all going on, did you see Donnie? Did you see Donnie? And it's like, yeah, I saw him. And it's just, I'm not saying Donnie is innocent here. I'm just simply saying I don't know if her memory is really so accurate.
I don't think someone was deliberately planting these memories, but I think that truly believe that this was, I'm going to say it again because you like the word too much, a confabulation. Like she really believed it, probably a combination of factors. And also like, have you ever had a dream and you wake up and for a moment you're like, well, you're a man. I think women do this more, but for a moment you're like, I'll be like pissed off at my husband for something and then be like, oh wait, he didn't do that. That was my dream. I feel like Julie was not doing well health-wise and she was being interviewed and, all these things were going on. And I can't see either Betty or Hans wanting this to be Donnie's fault. So I don't think anyone, and as we pointed out, I don't think this town's law enforcement was all like gung-ho about we need our stats up or whatever. So I think this was an accidental, and I don't think Julie's memory was
And also,
real.
I do want to just say that they own their own business, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason that the two 16-year-old girls should be in the same bed. Sorry.
I had the same thought. I didn't say it, though. I didn't say it because, right, this is another reason, like a warehouse or...
If you don't have the space, get bunk beds.
It was sort of creepy, and I don't mean they're creepy. It was confusing, creepy.
Yeah, because she even talks about how she crawled over her sister while this was all going on. When did she crawl over her?
Well, that's the other thing that doesn't make sense. Her sister had to be shot first, and then... I mean, if I were shooting, I wouldn't. But if I were shooting two people, I'd assume I would shoot one right after the other. And so I don't think she would be able to crawl over. I think a lot of this was her trying to put pieces together.
There's also a lot of nonsense here. There's also, how are you firing so much ammunition? Shotguns are very, very loud.
Right. Although there is a silencer for a shotgun.
It's not going to muffle it enough. It would still wake you up. I'm imagining. I don't... Yes. But I don't think that they didn't find the silencer, and Donnie borrowed the gun. I mean, the guy is just basically borrowing the only thing available. I'm going to guess that the only reason I have a silencer on a shotgun is for this exact purpose.
Yeah,
I'm going to say that there's not.
It seems like a useless. I mean, again, I Googled it, and it just seems like a silencer on a shotgun is kind like.
Probably costs more than a shotgun.
Right, and it's probably good if you're shooting someone who's like deaf in one ear, but otherwise I don't think it's...
But he fired twice. At the very least, there are two shots. That to me is just, how are people not hearing this when there's another three people in the place?
Mark, I told you this, but I was on one of these sites, whatever you call them, like where people are commenting on the case. And someone said the same thing you're saying, like, how did Betty and Hans not hear it? And Betty shows up and says, we did hear the shotguns.
She says that, but then why? Well, we don't know when she heard. There's so many things here. We don't know when she heard it. Later on, we learn that possibly one of those blasts were happening during the fire.
Well, which I don't know if you'd, I mean, I think.
Makes even less sense.
Well, there's a roaring fire. And so I think it's a phrase. And so maybe fires actually roar. I don't know. Sorry.
No, I'm trying to think about that. I don't know if it would be that smart to be standing in the middle of a fire with a firearm in your hands.
I don't get the feeling, if this were Donnie, that he was that smart.
But they're saying that would be a third person. We're jumping around. I'm jumping around.
No, but I agree with you. But I did think it was interesting that Betty showed up in this group to say we did hear the shotgun. What I imagine is when you're woken up out of sleep, I imagine it was probably two things simultaneously: the sound of a shotgun, and then also the smell of smoke.
And gasoline smell. I mean, that's very strong.
Yeah, but gasoline, I don't think is going to wake you.
It would wake me up, I think, because it's such a pungent smell. I think. I don't know. I guess maybe it depends. But yeah, I mean, of course, smoke and fire is going to be a little bit more dramatic. But on December 2nd, Donnie goes into the county courthouse. He voluntarily comes in for further questioning. The interrogation lasts 2 hours. When he emerges, he's in handcuffs, and he's facing a trial on charges of arson and murder. His mother is still kind of on his side at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be. I don't know. It would be.
I don't know. I guess it's easy to look at it now and make that decision, but I guess when it's happening to you in the time, maybe it's a tougher thing to just believe that your own child, well, your own stepchild,
this is her child.
Oh, right. This is, yeah.
This is her child, and that's why I have a theory that she's still in touch with Donnie, but that's my theory.
Mother never, they're always going to have some level of connection.
Right, and so it's very hard. I think she's very torn at this moment. 2
weeks later, she's torn even more because we find out that Julie suddenly dies in a freak medical accident. Do you want to talk a little bit about this? The thing you dug up about the description is horrifying.
Well, I'm happy to horrify. So, Julie was in such bad shape. She had an intravenous feeding tube inserted under her collarbone, and it came apart, allowing air to enter her heart. Now, during the course of this wrongful death case, the issue was, at some point, Julie was standing and she fell. Did this intravenous IV tube come apart when she fell, or did it come apart because it had gotten moist and the nurses hadn't noticed? There's no doubt that, well, there's a little doubt. Basically, a hospital aide definitely reported that this IV tube, there was moist, the dressings around it. At one point, it was like 4 a.m. Julie tells the aide she needs to use the bathroom. The aide decides to weigh her while she's out of bed, which I probably wouldn't do at 4 a.m. without any help, but fine. So the aide helps Julie sit up, goes to get a scale. Again, wouldn't leave her alone. Within seconds, a nurse passing by hears Julie calling for help. She stands up and she collapses, and then they see that the IV tube has come out, which means that there has been the opportunity for air to enter her heart. The parents, rightfully so, I would as well, but they bring it to trial for a wrongful death case. It doesn't go to trial until 5 years later. And there's a lot of testifying back and forth as to whether, listen, Julie was not in the greatest shape, needless to say, hole in the stomach and all. What caused her death? Was it carelessness and not noticing that the IV tube was damp, which would have made it loose? Or was it that she just wasn't doing well anyway? I personally think the hospital, if we could
retry, a bit of negligence, I think. A little bit.
If we could retry this now, 100%, this is negligence, I think. But I think that, well, they said this in something I read, and I agree. Well, two things. One is, I think that the jury probably couldn't understand the medical jargon, because even now as I was explaining it, I was simplifying it, and I don't think that the jury was able, I don't know that they slowed it down enough for the jury to understand it. And so now Julie's dead as well. This has been a horrible loss.
I do want to just ask, why is it that they're weighing her?
Because she was so... Why are they weighing her at 4 a.m. is the first part. I think someone...
It seems like a cover-up. It seems like something happened. She fell out of bed, and they're like, well, I was going to weigh her. I don't know.
No, I think they probably had to weigh her because when you're giving meds to people, a lot of meds, like, you want to make sure she's continuing to gain weight.
Yeah, I guess she could have dropped a ton of weight just because of her situation.
Right. And also... with some medications, you have to administer them according to, like, the dosage is relative to the weight of the patient. So that is my other thought. But at 4 a.m, there's someone that messed up somewhere. Like, because you don't leave someone, the aide shouldn't have left, and then, you certainly wouldn't leave this girl alone, and she should have been weighed earlier. So...
But we can't blame this on Donnie. This is the one thing we cannot blame on Donnie because... Well, I mean, all right, she's there because of him, probably.
Maybe, right. So then the big Donnie connection is, Well,
I do want to just... I don't know if you mentioned this, that all of her statements at this point, or all of her eyewitness statements are all inadmissible now because she simply cannot be cross-examined.
You took the words out of my mouth. That's where I was going. Right. So now all of her statements are inadmissible as evidence. She can't be cross-examined. Fortunately, I happen to know a decent lawyer who I asked for more details about this. And it's just basically like...
Pillow talk.
Yeah, it's basically just that you have the right to confront your... you have the right to confront your attorney. And also... I'm sorry, you have the right to confront your accuser. Otherwise, it's hearsay. It's just someone else saying what they heard. And that's not to be trusted because, humorously, we still believe in the honor system in America. And so you can't trust someone unless they swear under oath. Now, under oath. And now she can't swear under oath. We can't cross-examine her. I will say that our Constitution is also based on some of the mistakes of the British system of government, which is why we had the Salem witch trials. Killed a bunch of people.
But that's a good thing. Of course it's not. I'm kidding.
No.
Have you ever gone up there? Have you ever visited the museum and all of that stuff?
I have not, but I taught a class in it and did a hard deep dive into, like, the Salem witch trial.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my class is fantastic. The Salem witch trial, where it was definitely just fear of... it was sexist, it was racist, it was xenophobic, it was all these things. So we do have the right to confront your accuser. That is important, and it's the underlying bedrock of our Constitution. There is one exception to that, which is the dying declaration. So had Julie said all of this and died on that field, it would have been kept in. Or
they could have done some, maybe. We don't know what her condition was. But if they could have done something, had somebody come in and just take a statement.
No, well, they did take a statement, but it doesn't matter. The dying declaration is the only exception to the rule. Otherwise, you have to be sworn under oath, and the other party has to be given an opportunity to interview. And this is why I married a lawyer. Thank you very much.
So... the defense story becomes this whole, like, fan fiction type of thing. It's ridiculous. We get the theory that somebody, maybe a third and fourth party, entered the home, poured gasoline throughout it. There's no motive, lit the place on fire, and then shot the twins. The whole thing is so insane. I just don't even know what scenario would bring us to believe that. But the jury believed it.
The jury had to. Otherwise, you have to believe that your son can kill your daughter, or that, like, it opens up a whole new level of evil that you have to allow into your life. It's like...
here's the thing. I think there's a lack of evidence to specifically put Donnie pulling the trigger.
I think there's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of evidence that should add up to something, but because most of the time you can't, I'm sure his fingerprints were on the gun. I don't know how fingerprints do under smoke and all that stuff. I think it's more of an emotional thing that, like, the jury didn't want to believe that this was an evil that could occur.
He had to have worn gloves because gas can. Let's say Donnie did it. I think Donnie, if he didn't do it, he's involved in it. Whoever poured the gasoline used gloves. Yeah. Whoever pulled the trigger used gloves. Whoever loaded the weapon used gloves.
Right.
Maybe that wouldn't matter because he keeps claiming that the gun that he had was stolen. It was taken from him. I don't think he's smart enough.
I don't know if he's smart enough to use gloves. I don't have a lot of faith in Donnie, but
he's a free man right now.
He's a free man, and he changed his name, and I couldn't find him as much as I tried.
Yeah, the whole thing is so strange. They're going back and forth, back and forth. I'm kind of curious if this wouldn't really be an FBI level type of thing. I wonder if the whole thing could be revisited, if there really is evidence that could have linked him, or even if this were to happen now, whether we could pull touch DNA off of things. You know, touch DNA is like this new magic trick that seems to be really, really getting a lot of people in a lot more trouble.
I definitely think as with many of these cases, if it could have been, if we had done it now, I think 100%. But I do have a problem with the motive. Hans says that he thinks that the insurance policy was part of the motive. The insurance was on Hans. Yeah. So, okay, but so if Hans dies, it goes to Mom. It goes to Betty. And so that has nothing to do with Donnie. And also, even if this was some sort of more global plan or global insurance policy, unless we're buying that Donnie and Becky were going to split it, what was his next plan? To kill Becky? And that would have been really tough pill to swallow.
Let's say he's just a meth head, right? And he's there to kill all four of them.
There's still a...
All right, there's still the sister. If she was in the house, maybe.
Right. So I can't see that that's not a good enough motive for me.
Maybe next on the list. I don't know.
Well, but that would be too... I know he's not...
It's 5 people that you're killing. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about killing 1, but 5. Yeah, it's really.
That's my issue. Becky's the missing piece to me, and I really want to know where she was at the time. And I'm shocked that I can't find it. That's my big question: is where was she? And I also am curious as to how she got along with her brother. And I can't buy into the money as the motive. That's my thing.
We also don't know how much money. We're not, usually when it's a tremendous amount of money, they usually throw that number around. But if it's are we talking $50,000 or something?
Probably not. Meth I think is expensive. Probably.
But then again, wouldn't he inherit the entire business as well?
Only if everyone else was dead.
Yeah.
And so wait, and if that was the plan, don't visit the family. Just kill him.
So. Is it possible that Donnie, we kind of mentioned this a little bit in our notes, is it possible Donnie just got involved with some bad people, drugs, maybe gambling, who knows, and this was retaliation, and it just went really, really bad?
It's possible. They're on that post that I found, Betty's comment, someone said that there were a couple of people that were from the town and said that she thinks that one blamed the jurors and that the jurors felt robbed, but they'd come to expect it from Eureka, which I guess, I don't know how we got from Willow Creek to Eureka, but I guess they're close by. They're all in Humboldt County. I know that.
I also think Donnie is easier to find than we think, even though we can't find. I know you searched high and low. I looked a bit, but if Unsolved Mysteries can find him, he's got to be out there.
Well, I have a feeling he changed his name after Unsolved Mysteries.
It's possible.
That's my feeling. And also, I did a very deep, dark stalk. And in different states, there's different name change requirements. And in some states, you have to publish it in the paper. And California is one of those states. But there's other nearby states. Also, the family no longer lives in California. And so I believe I found Donnie, and he's done some traveling, but I can't find the new name to look him up.
Interesting.
And yeah, I know. I'm a crazy stalker, and I didn't even know it until we started this.
But having Donnie on there also makes me think he's not doing that well, because Unsolved Mysteries had to have paid him to show up here. He has to know that no one is going to believe him. That's why they had to darken his face so you can't even identify him. Do we have any photos of Donnie younger?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there is one photo of Donnie, very young. I mean, if you've got age altering software on your
No, I don't.
repertoire, I have found someone who I think is Donnie, and we could compare the two, but I don't have it.
That stuff never looks right to me.
I know, me neither.
It looks like a weird oil painting or something.
I know. One more, but there is one more connection, and someone else posted this out on that same board. There are these two girls, Loria Bible and Ashley Freeman, and they disappeared, and their house was burned down. Their trailer was burned down. The parents were shot. I did not find any, it didn't say whether or not it was a shotgun. They ended up, years later, convicting this man named Ronnie.
I think it was a shotgun, actually. We covered that on episode 31 of Unsolved Mysteries Rewind.
Of course. I've listened to all of the episodes. I totally forgot that. Sorry. Ronnie Busick and his two associates who were dead at the time. But I couldn't find any evidence of Ronnie or these other two gentlemen whose name I can't remember and probably don't deserve to be called gentlemen, ever living in California, which doesn't mean they couldn't have swung through. But so that I suppose that's another possibility. But then you would think that if Donnie had no involvement, he would be more forthcoming.
I imagine that there are a lot of trailer fires and a lot of killing with shotguns that kind of fall into the same category.
I think they could create a Venn diagram between trailer fires and shotgun deaths, yes.
I really think that they go up in flames probably very, very easily. The construction is not great. I mean, whenever I've seen any trailers, it all looks like there's wood paneling and stuff like that, and that stuff kind of will catch up. You could start fires with that kind of stuff pretty easily.
Well, also, you're in a trailer that's filled with gas, and you're adding gas. So that makes it more flammable.
Well, a trailer doesn't necessarily have a vehicle.
Wait, I was thinking of this as like a mobile home.
No. I think this was like a trailer, I don't even know how big, like maybe 40 feet by 10 feet box, essentially. It's a mobile home because it can be moved, but it's not necessarily on wheels.
Doesn't there have to be a bathroom in there?
There is. These things are they're kind of built to have everything all in one. The plumbing and everything gets connected pretty easily. It's all kind of prefabbed. It's kind of made to be as economical as possible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing that
Sure.
One of the reasons Donnie got arrested is that he failed 2 polygraphs. And a question that I don't know if you've covered this, but I was very curious about this and as to why polygraphs are not admissible in court.
No, I couldn't. I can never find a good answer, so I'm looking for one.
Okay. And so I'm a huge fan of Malcolm Gladwell, and his last book was Talking to Strangers, and it's just brings up various cases where when people don't react the way you think they're going to, you assume they're lying, but when they do react the way you expect them to, your assumption is that they're telling the truth. So lie detectors are based on the idea of physical tells that we act in certain ways in certain situations. But really what a lie detector is just a glorified stress detector. So if I'm super stressed because I'm being accused of murdering my sisters and I go in, I'm probably going to fail the lie detector because I'm all over the place. It's not a test of lies. It's a test of stress. And let me tell you something. Every time I leave the house with a mask, I would probably fail a lie detector because my brain is all over the place.
I have such a guilty conscience, right? Like if a cop is behind me, I just killed somebody. Yeah. I am so, and I'm looking at this photo of the guy getting the polygraph on the link to your article, and it's giving me agita just looking at it.
Yeah, I also know people, like patients, who have failed polygraphs, and it's not because they're lying. It's because it's something required for a government job, and they're nervous about it because they really want it. The other thing is most tests are standardized, which statistically sound, tested on a certain population, validated by various math stuff, and they never standardize a polygraph, and I don't think you can because it's based on the individual. So it's not statistically sound. So I don't even know why we use them.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, you really give it a low nothing. It's really just right up there with, what's that Leah Remini cult thing?
Scientology, but I was actually going to go with a Magic 8 Ball. It's probably the Magic 8 Ball, yeah.
So Scientology might have something more on the on this than even a lie detector test.
Or a Magic 8 Ball. Why do you not like my Magic 8 Ball? I mean, there's been stories all over about, serial killers will fail or will pass a polygraph. And also, an oldie but goodie, I don't know if this is true because I've never been administered one, but is if you step on a tack during the true...
That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. I don't know where I would find a tack if I'm,
I just know I'd have a very bloody foot at the end.
Yeah, same.
But they petrify me. It makes me just think like, oh, you failed a polygraph. Is that going to be like public knowledge now?
Well, it is if you're accused of murdering people. Yeah.
Holy moly. I just think it's so crazy that people rely on this kind of, it's kind of like making somebody flinch. Like, why are you flinching?
Yeah.
I'm flinching because you thought you were going to punch me.
Yeah. And that is proof that we have children of the same age. So.
Yeah, exactly. But we do have a photograph that you dug up of a very young Becky and what's his name?
Betty. Betty. I wrote it wrong. I'm sorry. Betty and Hans. Yeah.
And I think they're a good-looking couple here. This is
super cute.
This is like 1965, maybe, or something.
Yeah, it's before they had kids, so
they were happy.
They look very happy. I also dug up one of them today. She's beautiful. They look happy. Let me say, I do this, I think, not to interfere or... I mean, I think I do this because I need to know that when awful things happen to people, they can come through. And I'm sure that they're still scarred, but I think part of the reason I want to know where they are now in a non-invasive way that we won't share with listeners is just that I need to know that bad things can happen and we can move on. And that's us.
It's important. Sure.
Yeah, and I think I've become a little softer in the pandemic. So it's become more important to me to hear that we can move past these things. And so I looked up happy faces to see that they're doing okay. And also the daughter, Becky, she looks like she's doing well. And I do it not to invade, but just to see a light at the end of the tunnel. So
yeah, I also wanted to see what they're up to. I mean, it's my hope is to one day have a common friend. So. Yeah, like if you find them on Facebook and it's like, whoa, you know this guy?
Well, if you ever allow us to do an episode on local ones, we have common friends with people, so.
Well, so this brings us to our final story, which is, I think, just a feel-bad story about Michael Seymour. Lost Loves, Michael Seymour. I'm just going to blow through this one. I think it's pretty quick. This guy's mother is basically in America and in Chicago, summer of 1955, Maria Hoffman, who's 21 years old, meets Michael Seymour in his early 20s, and they have a summer romance. Maria gets pregnant. They realize that they don't really have a means of not only raising this child, but she's here basically on, I don't know if there's a visa back then, but she's an exchange student from Germany.
It didn't make sense to me. I have a feeling that it was Michael Seymour's idea. He was like, why don't you go back to Germany and I'll meet you there?
I'll pay for the one-way ticket.
Exactly, yeah.
But so she has the baby. She goes back to Germany, has the baby, keeps the secret for 30 years. This is not that big of a deal to me. Spring of 1983, Maria...
Wait, it's not too big of a deal to you because it's not your mom. Like...
I just don't think it's that uncommon of a story. I think we live in a world where maybe it should be a bigger deal, is what I'm saying. We live in a world where children are being raised constantly fatherless because men very often don't step up to the plate of taking responsibility for having their moment of weakness or just not being able to step up to the plate when things need to be done.
Or not being willing to put on a condom. You go. Whatever.
Oh. Let's not get crazy here. We have Catholics listening. So in spring of 1983, Maria had returned to Germany. She had remarried. She married a college professor. So she's like, I'm going to learn through him. And she became, did she have other kids? I don't know. It says she became a mother and a grandmother.
It says Christoph is the oldest. So I'm going with yes.
Essentially, she decides to share the story with Christoph. At 27 years old.
Actually.
Christoph?
Yeah, sure.
Grundhofer. All right, so Christoph is 27 years old, so she's thinking, all right, you're old enough to know that your father who you love is not your father. Kind of monkey wrench it.
Like, I know a lot of kids that are adopted or like the result of like artificial.
They have stepkids or something like that.
Artificial insemination, sperm donor, whatever. And like, they're told at a really young age. 27 feels an odd. I'd like to know why 27.
Well, it was the 80s, and he grew up in the 70s, really. So maybe it was, and who knows what kind of things were going on in Germany in the 60s, you know?
I think most of us know. But
it was kind of in the 60s?
I mean, it wasn't hell anymore. So
yeah. I would say Germany was somewhat progressive in the 60s. It was probably a halfway decent place. They finally rebuilt a little bit of infrastructure that didn't have swastikas on it.
Well, also, they'd spent all that time doing that totally horrible research. I'm sure their medical team was, right ahead of everyone.
Well, people were graduating and they were new doctors that you would go to and you were like, oh, thank God he's a new doctor. He's not connected. They took all those doctors and brought him over, Operation Paperclip, of course.
Right.
That's a whole other thing. She tells him you have a dad in America, and gives him 4 letters that she's held on to for 3 decades, and gives a couple photographs of Michael Seymour. He decides he wants to look him up and find out if he even wants to stay in contact. I don't know what that means. So we find out that a cousin of Maria's, who lived in Chicago, was in contact. Now, this is weird.
No, it's not. They definitely boinked.
Yes, right? This was like
boinking Seymour.
100%.
Okay, good.
Or it was like some type of phone thing going on. No. It was not just a casual, tell me all about Christoph.
Yeah, no. There's definitely like Christoph now has a relative, I can't put the math together, but Christoph's now has someone who's shares more genetic code than they should.
I also do want to mention that there is no mention of this cousin or family in the original part of this story when she's just the exchange student from Germany. Because I get the impression she's completely alone.
Well, I agree. I think, so maybe. I think she stayed with the cousin, and then I was going to say that, she found out that they were sleeping together, but that doesn't, then I don't know why she would continue to. Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense. I think Michael Seymour was a playboy and, I
don't know, even if a playboy, he was just a guy who wasn't willing to take responsibility here.
Yeah, I think when you have
he's hooking up with the cousins.
That's sort of sketch,
It is. It's the 50s. But Maria's cousin, of course, stopped contacting him after 20 years. Or she moved and there was no more of a connection.
Which is also sus, as the kids call it. Why? You're moving. You're like, hey, let me give you my new number.
Now, we also get Maria Bauer, who's the mom. We learn that she died at the ripe old age of 49. I'm 48. I think that she could be my mother. This woman looks so old, the reenactor.
Agreed.
You don't think so?
No, I said agreed.
Oh, okay. I think that the reenactor is
Listen, this was so anticlimactic after the entire roller coaster. I was like, this guy's just a.
Well, this is a big nothing. Christoph is a captain in the German Air Force, but now he's training helicopter pilots for the U.S. Army. And that's it. I mean, he just learns that Michael Seymour is not his real name. And he might even be Canadian. Right.
And he was also, I did find something that, it seems like he also fathered other children in other places.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Swab that mouth and see who comes calling.
This is true. What is it called? 23andMe or something? Yeah. Not an advertisement. It's the only one I remember because it rhymes.
This episode is sponsored by 23andMe. Swab and find out.
If Michael Seymour is your dad.
Hello, Christoph Bauer? You're my brother.
Tonight we have been confronted with an entire catalog of unexplained and unsolved events. Tune in next time as Unsolved Mysteries Rewind discusses another collection of unsolved mysteries. Until then, we can only look and wonder.